Mayflower. Okay, so I hope this time it turns out because last time I cut the top of my head off. Anyway, I just wanted to talk to you about the Mayflower. The reason that I'm doing this is because my one of my Lakota daughters, she lives in England, in the UK, and she notified me that they were having the 400th year anniversary of the, I don't know if it's the departure or the landing. Might just be the landing 1620 of the Mayflower at Plymouth Rock, and there's going to be celebrations, and so they wanted to have some native voices. So native voices go up there and say things, about your input. Myself, I thought it was kind of funny. I don't know much about it because we didn't really see it as important when I was kids. I don't think I learned about Mayflower till I went to school, and then it came up around Thanksgiving time, which I didn't get the Thanksgiving thing or any of it. It didn't make a lot of sense to me. It just seemed like the story is the guys got in a boat, they came over, and then the eastern seaboard's got a lot of people. And I thought, it must be one of like the Noah's Ark thing, the Mayflower must be like that. You just opened up and people are all over the place. But that's the mind of like a 6-year-old. The saddest part about it is, at that time of year, teachers always want to do arts and crafts. So the arts and crafts, and I don't blame the teacher, but the arts and crafts we did were we made little paper headdresses, and we wore them around. And I was so embarrassed about it that I swore 6 years old, and I said, I will never put on one of these things unless I earn a feather. It'll never touch my head. And I've stayed with that. I honor that headdress. That's one of those things, those symbols that our Thanksgiving, the Mayflower, which is piled in on that, that's one of those stereotypes that people don't understand. So it's either teach people or let it go. But this is the time of the discussion. We should be discussing lots of racial things, and so the Mayflower is an important discussion, and I encourage others to join this discussion because it's our time to say that we have a voice. What happened with the Mayflower? Well, it sounds like when I was a kid, it was like this boat came over, dumped a bunch of people out, and they had a hard time, and then the Indians came and they gave them a bunch of food, and everybody was happy. 1776. Now you have to remember too, when I'm 6 years old, we're just out of the Second World War and Korea. The country's very, very patriotic at the time, and we did, the Pledge of Allegiance every morning. At my house, we sang on the Marine Corps birthday. We were very patriotic. So the idea of Thanksgiving, was just part of it. Being an American, being a United States citizen. But yeah, it wasn't in my household. My family, we talked about, people like Charles Eastman, or because they were friends of my grandpa's. He talked about Robbie Yellowtail and Tom and Susie Yellowtail. Talked about a lot of people. We talked about, who, interested us, and the Mayflower really didn't interest us. And that's about where that story would have dropped if it hadn't have been for, a lot of native scholars that pursued those histories to actually record, the truth through the methods of methodologies of research the universities used. It's undeniable, fact finding. They did a wonderful thing for Indian history by doing, their research and reshaping that story so that now we realize and know that, those pilgrims came in and they stole from our stashes of food and, pillaged the houses, the homes, and developed a method of owning the universe, which is, so far out it's still baffling, is that, you can give somebody some money. Even worse, you can promise to give somebody some money, and then they give you a piece of paper, and then you go out and actually that's a piece of land, and that piece of paper says you own it. The universe, mind you. It's baffling. That's a terrible thought. Because what it does is it also designs people to, hi my girl, it designs a lot of things to where you're basing, who has rights by ownership and who has the authorities. And I guess my neighbor's dogs, there's been a fox coming around, so they may be yelling at that fox. But what happened to us, is that, after the war, Second World War in Korea, a lot of those native people, they just basically went back to their forgotten worlds. And, but as time went on, we learned, we were able to find out more and more about these stories, about the Puritans, they were called, which is a scary word to begin with. Hi, my girl. Okay, get down. You bet. That's my girl. That's Lucy the dog. She's people are afraid of her skin color. Anyway, as time goes on with this Mayflower excursion in UK, more research should be available. We shouldn't stop the story about what actually happened in our country. So I think about the Mayflower over this last couple of days, and I think, we never thought of the human body the way the European thinks of the human body. I don't. There's a difference about and who you are to others. And I think that's part of the freedom that the Europeans that came, they missed. Their freedom is about, my freedom. It's personal, it's singular. Whereas so often native conscious, the native expression is always plural, where it's always about all of the people. It's inclusive. And being inclusive is, just the way we're supposed to be. Right, Luce? That's Lucy the dog. Anyway, I'm sure we'll get to have more discussions on, race and equality and statues. And statues are another thing. Here's the deal with statues, and are people going to protest this Mayflower event because it would, the atrocities that happened. It's based around that name. People are venting. And I think it's a good heads up. Now, for all those people that are thinking about how do you support, well, support, I don't have a clue. Sometimes people, you say go support, and they go and make, fools out of themselves, and then they say, well, Scott Fraser told me to come down there, and I'm like, go, don't use my name. Anyway, Listen, it's the Mayflower. It's going to be, about Christopher Columbus in the same time of year, fall. There is going to be some discussions. So get into it and get involved. Okay, so that's Lucy's take on this Mayflower thing.